be prepared for spoilers. I won't tell you how it ends, but I will spoil quite a bit of the book. Not the biggest details, but some of them. You just gotta be prepared for spoilers because it's impossible to talk about this book without revealing the extra stuff. So, welcome to the D. Louise book series. I'm Christina Tina. This is where we read books and talk about books. No special effects, no theme music, no fancy stuff going on here. And when I talk about a book and my video is about a book, the title of my video is the book title. I get criticism. Make sure you have a really eye-catching title, or make sure you. I can't do that stuff. I can't do that fake stuff. I really can't. There's so many of them. Their title is "Do I Like This Book?" But they don't put the title of the book, so you have no idea what book they're talking about. So I guess that makes you click on it because you don't know what book they're talking about and you want to see what book they're talking about. I just can't do that. So, book 18 in the Hallows series. And I got this for Christmas and I just got around to it now in my to be read pile. But I've mentioned this previously. Charlene Harris, Sookie, I can't help it, Sookie, just can't help it. It's from the TV show, but the books were better, by the way. But Charlene Harris and Kim Harrison stopped writing at book 13, and Charlene Harris has never gone back to Sookie as of this point. She's done some other stuff. And I really don't like her new stuff. I just don't like it at all. I mean, I tried that Midnight stuff, and then I tried that Rosie stuff, and it just didn't work for me. However, Kim decided to return to Rachel after doing a few books that just was like, I want no part of. But she came back to Rachel. The Rachel we all know and love with Ivy and Jinx and Trent and the girls and Al and the rest of the gang. She came back to these people we love so much. And so I got this book for Christmas. And like I said, it's been in my to be read pile. And I got to a point where there were some books in transit. I'm waiting for other books. I'm waiting for this. I'm waiting for that. So I went through my to be read pile. As you saw, we got rid of the Patterson one. Now there's a new Patterson one. We got to get to that one. And a couple of the other ones. And this was in the to be read pile. So we started with this. So this is book 18 of the Hallows. And this Coven Witch Elsie, ELYSE, has a really, really hard on for Rachel. I am serious. This woman is trying to blackmail Rachel. You can either you need to undo, she did this curse a couple of books ago on Brad. And she needs to fix the curse. And Rachel doesn't know how to fix the curse. So, shoot, I just got the doorbell. So, she's like, you either fix this curse on this guy, or we send you to Alcatraz. Or you join our coven and become our minion and do all the stuff we want you to do. And Rachel wants no part of any of that. So she gathers up all the ingredients for this spell that she needs to do. But she needs this final ingredient, a mirror. And it has to be a specific mirror. And she got this mirror from Newt. Newt. That's the lady's name. And at first she was like like Al, like a demon sort of thing, but now she's a goddess. So she's had a transition. But at the time of this mirror's existence, she was a sort of a demon person, like Al. And I noticed another thing, another some of my authors, if I've noticed it with Catherine Coulter too, in the Catherine Coulter books. Um, there's really not too much description of these people, their physical description. There's not too much of an introduction to the actual character's past. And that's kind of good because sometimes some of these other authors, it gets a little old. But if you're a new person coming into the series and you don't know who the characters are, you might be a little lost if you don't know who the characters are. But since we know who everybody is, we're okay with it. But you can get a little like who's this, who's that, who's that, who's this, who's that. But as long as you're a big reader of the series, and as long as you've read all the books in order, you know who all the players are. And I did make a spreadsheet, but I forgot to print it out. But you have Rachel, and it's mainly Rachel. Almost the entire book is mainly just Rachel and Elsie for the big, huge part of the book. You have Trent and his girls, and Trent is still on the run for some things that he did. So he's living in 2 different realities to save face, to not get arrested. And Ivy, she has small appearances here and there. And Jens has small appearances here and there. And Al has a big appearance. It's a substantial appearance in the beginning portion of the book. And so she decides to go back in time since the mirror doesn't exist today, or it was broken today. She's got to go back in time. And she's making all these plans. She's going back. She's getting old money. And she's only going back 5 years. So she's getting money that was printed 5 years ago. And she's going to the thrift store. And she's getting clothes from 5 years ago. She's doing all this kind of stuff. She's making all these kind of plans. She gets this whole thing together. And she goes in the park and everybody's there to do this spell. And Elsie shows up. And she thinks that Rachel is trying to get away and go to a different alternate reality or go to the other side or do something nefarious. And so she grabs onto Rachel, and because she grabs onto Rachel, she goes with Rachel through her time jump. And that causes some problems. They don't go back in time as far as Rachel had planned. They only went back a little over 2 years, and I don't know why it seems much, much longer than Kirsten died. It seems like he died a really long time ago, but apparently it was only over 2 years ago instead of the 5. She only goes back 2. So they actually, I don't know how she knows this. I think her phone. I guess her phone must be over 5 years old. Because it still has all the phone numbers in it. That was another thing that kind of, I didn't realize that her cell phone, she must have had her cell phone for over 5 years because phone numbers that were in it 5 years ago or 2 years ago are still in it. And people are still calling her and all this stuff is still valid in the past. So she must have got those way back when. And because it rings and it still works. And she talks to her mother at one point in the book. And not telling her mother that she's, from the future. But I don't know how she looks at her phone and she discovers that she's like the day before Kirsten dies. And she makes this big decision for herself that she's not going to mess with it. She's going to let things carry out as they did in the past, and she's not going to try and change anything. Then she accidentally runs into Kirsten when she's dealing with Newt. And he doesn't realize that she's a different Rachel. Although he knows that, I think he does realize she is a different Rachel because he makes mention that she loves him, but she doesn't love him like she did. She's in love with somebody else. And he picks up on that. And that, of course, is Trent now. And she tries to warn him about his potential death. And he just is like, well, I've got to do this, blah, blah, blah. So he goes and does it. And she says to herself that she's not going to do anything to change it. She's going to let it carry through like it did the first time. And then she's like, no. I need to change this. I need to fix this. I need to fix that. And once she gets Elsie on her side and convinces Elsie all this stuff, Elsie starts changing her point of view on Rachel. She starts to think, I think I won't do this. I'll cancel the Alcatraz. I'll cancel this, but I still want you to do the spell. And Elsie back, she wish-washes back. But by the end of this time here, Elsie firmly believes that no action should be taken about Rachel at all, because Rachel has saved her life a couple times in this book, and she understands all the circumstances and stuff now better than she did. But then Rachel comes up with this weird plan to save Kirsten, because she didn't know it till much later. Because when Elsie was telling her she had this book that had a spell that could bring Kirsten back, Rachel was under the assumption that it would be as a ghost or something like that. It wasn't until later that Al explained to her that she needed a physical body, that she was going to have to kill somebody or get a body out of the morgue, I guess, for Kirsten to inhabit. So then while she's back in time, she connives this plan, and it was like, huh? You what? So, spoilers, they go and get Kirsten's body, and they rescue him. Then they take him to the morgue and take another body and put that in the boat and use a spell to make it look like Kirsten. And then they go back to the morgue to get Kirsten's body back, to take his body back to the future where she can do this spell. In the meantime, they're dealing with Newt. They have a couple encounters with her. A co-coven worker, Scott, of Elsie's, is really, really highly against Rachel. He sabotages several of the incidents in the early time period. And when they do return to the future, he does everything in his power to sabotage Elsie in the present time, because he still feels that all these things should still be done to Rachel, and then he decides, well, maybe they need to be done to Elsie too. So he becomes really a big, huge problem at the end of the book, so you'll have to read that. But so that's about it. I took 10 pages of notes here, and I wrote quite a few of the pages out too. But so there you go. Does Rachel save Kirsten? Does she successfully bring him back to the future? And what happens with it? With that, is he a ghost? Is he a body? Is he a vampire? What's going on with him? You'll have to read it. What happens with Scott and Elsie in the coven with Rachel? Does Rachel figure out a way to save Brad? She has an epiphany at the end, the light bulb moment. It's a good book. It was a quick read. I really got into it, and I enjoyed the heck out of it. So if you could please hit the like and subscribe, and let me know I'm doing a good job, I'd really, really appreciate it. Thank you. Have a good day.